Zelanus sensed that Peliod had disappeared. Her existence was gone, in other words, she was dead. It was a grave situation. Peliod's death was unexpected for Zelanus. It was to the extent that future plans were thrown into chaos, and he could no longer be concerned with the immediate victory. Even if he continued to fight Milim, it was 50-50 whether Zelanus would win or not. The reason why Zelanus had still decided to fight was that Peliod was planning to kill all the enemy generals, collect their power, and use it to support Zelanus. If Peliod herself could be life reconstructed by integrating the power of the warriors here, she would be reborn as a super-enhanced being, though not as powerful as Zelanus. However, that plan had fallen through. As it was, he found himself in a battle that he was not even sure he could win. Zelanus was not optimistic enough to tolerate such uncertainty. Besides, there was an even greater concern. This battlefield was covered by a complex of barriers with the purpose of reducing the damage to the planet. Yet, the overall strength of the barrier had been weakened by the death of Peliod, who had been a part of it. Just as Milim was holding back her power, Zelanus, too, had yet to show his full potential. He also judged that further continuation of the battle might cause unforeseen problems. Kara confirmed that Peliod had disappeared and expressed her happiness with a smile. Hee, would you look at that? We emerged victorious, Kara said, turning around to say that, but Kondu was nowhere to be found. Kondu had not been formally summoned by Masayuki's ability. He had manifested forcibly using the golden gun Kara possessed as a medium. Kondu's existence made sense as an illusion born from Kara's desires. Hell, I get it. You came here because you were worried that I wasn't good enough, didn't you? Kara spoke to the empty sky, wearing a lonely but resilient smile. She was strong enough to bear her solitude and was determined to grow stronger to avoid repeating the same mistake in the future. Gobta cheered for victory, Ranga howled in triumph, and Geld, though exhausted, was helped to his feet by Obra. Karian and Frey shared a nod of satisfaction and extended their hands to assist Obra, all while laughing with Geld. Gabble and the others arrived to help Geld onto a stretcher and administer recovery medicine. Geld appeared to be in good health despite the commotion. As Geld and the others were carried back to Tempest, Midley spoke with emotion. We emerged victorious. Ah, Midley-san. It's a bit strange to be addressed as San by someone like you, a primordial who's lived longer than I have. Well, it's only natural. I offer respect to those I recognize. I'm honored. Their conversation came to a pause, and both of them savored the satisfaction of their victory for a moment. Although many were wounded, it was challenging to classify the battle as an absolute triumph. However, no lives were lost. I will become stronger, Kara declared. The legendary demons I heard about were often depicted as beings who couldn't comprehend human emotions. But as we talk like this, I find that we can surprisingly get along, Midley admitted. It's a bit late for that, isn't it? If you aim to become stronger, then I won't fall behind. If my body is on the verge of breaking down after such an effort, it means I still lack in martial arts. You're quite skilled, but it seems you intend to train even harder. Isn't that only natural? I need to push my mind and body to the limit to give my all for longer durations. Caradono would make for a good sparring partner, don't you think? That sounds like a good idea. I've been thinking about training more with the body entrusted to me by his lordship. I accept your offer. Kara and Midley shook hands firmly. Since they both shared the goal of achieving greater strength, there was no reason to decline. Milim chimed in with her usual enthusiasm. That's not fair. I want to join in on that special training too. Hey, does Milim really need to get any stronger? Milim-sama is already the strongest, so she doesn't need any special training, right? What are you saying? I won't allow myself to be excluded from the fun. So, Milim forcefully decided to participate. Gobta accurately assessed the situation and sensed the potential danger. He detected something unsettling in the conversation's flow and anticipated being pressured to join, so he strategically retreated. It was a wise judgment. Well, I'm off to report our victory. Hopping onto Ranga, the two sped away from the scene like the wind. As for the others, Milim's sudden actions were met with surprise, and there was resistance to her efforts to involve others in the situation. This resistance extended not only to Midley and Kara, who were the first to be ensnared, but also to Karian and Frey. Despite the significant destruction caused by the war in the region, they believed it had concluded without any fatal consequences. However, a sudden turn of events occurred as a blizzard emerged, catching everyone off guard. This blizzard of despair spread from the battlefield's edges to its center, trapping everyone within its icy grasp. Milim was the first to react and recognize the dire situation. Although there were few beings capable of deceiving a demon lord as ancient as Milim, Frost Dragon Velzard, the eldest sister of the true dragons, had accomplished this feat. Velzard revealed her presence and requested Milim's assistance, though Milim insisted that Velzard remove the blizzard before any further discussion. Some individuals at the outer edge of the battlefield had already been frozen into ice sculptures, their vital functions suspended, but still alive. Milim understood that Velzard could control their lives with her will alone. Caught off guard in the aftermath of her battle with Zelanus, Milim felt the urgency of the situation. Frey sensed an even greater danger, fearing that if Milim lost control, the entire area would be incinerated, resulting in unimaginable devastation and loss of life. Frey realized that a decision needed to be made promptly. Everyone understood the gravity of the situation, and they were willing to sacrifice themselves to protect Milim. The more people turned into ice sculptures, the closer Milim would be to losing her patience, and the consequences of her rage were unthinkable. Frey acted to relieve Milim of her burdens. She knew that Milim had never fought seriously except in her battle with Guy, and Frey aimed to push her into action by confronting Velzard. Carian and Midley echoed this sentiment, and their subordinates also committed to the cause without hesitation, driven by their love for Milim. Kara, remaining in the area, considered her options. She knew she couldn't withstand a prolonged battle against Velzard, who was an overwhelmingly formidable opponent. Her chances of escape were slim, but fleeing was not an option for her. Kara decided to join the fight, knowing that victory over Velzard was unlikely. Her subordinates agreed, and they prepared to lead the souls of the dead away from true death. Kara's words were met with approval from her subordinates, who had no time for recovery. They chose to abandon their incarnated bodies and return to their original spiritual forms to better aid the dead. However, a chilling and ruthless intent suddenly enveloped the battlefield, a voice resonating in the minds of all present. The blizzard intensified in response, making resistance seem futile. A supernatural disaster of incomprehensible scale had descended upon the battlefield, leaving no room for defiance. The pristine white ice and snow continued to rage. Initially, it was the soldiers who transformed into ice sculptures, followed by the captains and even the top-ranking officers. Only a handful remained standing, those who had reached the million-class level. But it was apparent that their time was limited. As the hopelessness of the situation became apparent, Frey, Carian, and Midley braced themselves for their inevitable demise. They owed their continued existence to Milim, who shielded them from the overwhelming energy released by Velzard. Kara, positioned slightly apart from Milim, was unable to shed her physical form and remained immobile, as did her subordinates. The same fate befell Frey's soaring flock, Carian's winged beast knights, and Midley's group of priests and priestesses. All were turned into ice sculptures by Velzard's Haki, even though Velzard hadn't directly attacked them. This phenomenon instilled an overwhelming sense of despair in those who recognized its significance. Milim, protecting Frey and the others, was also immobilized. Their fate depended on her continued protection. Frey admired Milim's kindness and recognized her own impending fate. Carian wore a fearless smile, while Midley sighed and nodded in agreement with Carian. Obra prayed silently, perhaps offering an apology to someone. The four heavenly kings under Milim shared a mutual understanding and resolve. I guess you've made up your minds. Yeah, let's do it all at once, as grand as possible. If we're going down anyway, let's give Milim-sama one last display of our heroism. Phew. Now I finally understand how my subordinates felt. So that's it. They didn't die in vain. In that case, I'll have to bring them something to brag about, too. In unison, they acted before Milim could intervene, launching a coordinated assault on Velzard. Their teamwork was impeccable, but it proved futile against Velzard's might. Velzard remained cold and composed, unscathed by their attacks, and four more ice sculptures stood in her wake. Milim's expression shifted from despair to pure rage, a singular emotion dominating her being. Milim unleashed her ultimate skill, Wrath King Satanael, at full power. This skill absorbed magicules from the surroundings and her own mana, continuously generating greater energy. It was a magicule breeder reactor, an uncontrollable force, and the essence of Wrath King Satanael. The magicules used as fuel were replenished, multiplying rapidly. As long as the skill was active, Milim's magicule reserves would continue to grow endlessly, making her a truly unstoppable force. As Veldanava's offspring and the Dragon Princess, Milim wielded infinite power. With a deafening roar, Milim shook the heavens and shattered the earth. Her mythical great armor underwent a dramatic transformation, adapting to her increased power. This wasn't for external protection but to prevent her from being overwhelmed by her own might. Milim's surging power fused with her armor, covering her in her true form. This was Milim's true self, the embodiment of absolute destruction, surpassing even the true dragons in power. Velzard, seemingly unfazed, teased Milim, who responded with a single word, die. With no one left to hinder her, Milim unleashed her wrath as the ultimate dragon Magin, heralding another cataclysmic event in the world.